let's look into Linux kernel tree. So what is a Linux kernel tree? So Linux kernel source tree is a directory which contains all of the kernel source code. So using this kernel source tree, you can build a new kernel and install it, and then you can reboot your machine to use the new rebuilt kernel. So each and every maintainer, subsystem maintainer, has a Linux kernel tree. So you can find out all those subsystem main and subsystem repositories of Linux tree in this link. Let's go and look into this link of what we have here. So you can see here, this is the link which we have seen. You have a lot of repositories. Each and every maintainer has a repository. So you can see Alexander Belloni is a maintainer. Its repository is here. Kernel Git RTC tools is another repository. So line perf and all handled by this person has its own repository, and you can see how they are frequently updated. You have log and all. You can go to the source code. All of them have their own repositories. So then we have something known as mainline kernel tree. This is the source code maintained by Linus Torvalds. This is the tree where Linux releases mainline kernels and RC releases. What is RC? Is nothing but release candidate releases. So kernel tree maintained by Linus Torvalds we call as mainline, and all the releases are happening in this particular tree. Then we have stable tree. This is maintained by Greg. This contains stable release branches. All the stable releases are based on this particular tree. Then we have Linux Next Tree, maintained by Stephen Rothwell. All the updates before updates from subsystem trees, they're merged into Linux mainline tree. It has to be integration tested, and this is used for integration testing. Then we have staging tree. So this is used to hold standalone drivers and file systems which are not ready to be merged into main portion of Linux kernel tree. This may be due to coding standards or quality issues. So this staging tree is located in driver staging folder, and it resolves the hundreds of different download sites problem for out of tree drivers. So we have out of tree drivers which are not present in Linux kernel tree, and it has to come into in-source tree. So first of all, they go into staging tree, and once all the coding standards and quality issues are fixed, it comes out of the staging tree into the main subsystem folder. So the Linux Next Tree, which is where integration testing happens before merging into the mainline tree, contains the latest version of the staging tree. So these are the various trees. The important point is each and every subsystem maintainer has its own mainline tree. Then we have Linus Torvalds having, so each and every subsystem maintainer has a Linux tree. Then we have Linus Torvalds having mainline kernel tree, where he releases the kernels, Linux kernels. Then we have stable tree, where stable branches, Linux branches are present. Then we have Linux Next Tree for integration testing. And then we have staging tree, where the new drivers which are going to come into mainline is present here.